usual, last weekend's Clásico left us with some incredible images. The clash between Barca and Madrid in the Camp Nou once again kicked off with a spectacular human mosaic dedicated to the memory of Johan Cruyff. Such mosaics have become a tradition in the Camp Nou on the big occasions over the last 25 years and were initiated a quarter of a century ago by the supporters club FC Barcelona MOsaics, with Jordi Sans very much leading the way.
Para mí, quizá el referente en aquella época, bueno, básicamente era el fútbol italiano.
Back then, for me, the reference was Italian football. In terms of this kind of human presentation, that was what we looked at. Due to a series of circumstances, I ended up living in Italy. And that was when I began feeling more of a connection with the fans on the terraces. I began to think that the fans at Barca Stadium were passionate about their club, but the atmosphere on the big nights was actually quite cold. So I wanted to find a way for the fans to be able to express themselves and to create a message they could all get behind.
The
fan with the best interests of the club at heart, he took his idea to the club and sought the support of the local sporting press, and his proposal fell on fertile ground. The date chosen for the first mosaic was the Clásico in the Camp Nou of March 1992.
If you compare how long it took to set up with how things are today, the difference is unbelievable. We spent all day from 9 in the morning to 9 at night, 12 hours. There were between 80 and 100 of us, and we had to fill 18,000 seats. What was most moving was seeing the results. That it wasn't just about the logistics of setting it all up, but seeing that moment of plastic art that lasted for a minute along with the club anthem. It was something really special. For me, it was special, and I think that it was special for all the fans too.
Since that March day of 1992, more than 50 mosaics have been seen in Barcelona's stadium. It's a form of support which has become intrinsically linked to the clashes between the big two of the Spanish game, and which also appears in other big Liga matches and in the Champions League.
The mosaics began in the North Stand, which is where the Almogávar supporters group used to stand. And then 4 or 5 years later, we expanded it for a game against Depor using part of the tribunal stand. But from then on, basically, we relied on a U-shape, which was great for television. The central message would be on one side, the North Stand would be a point of support for the message. Then finally, we ended up covering the whole stadium for a Barca-Madrid game, and now that's been consolidated. Every mosaic now covers the whole ground.
Before these enormous works of art can actually be put into place, there's a complex gestation process.
We get the original idea and conceive the message. And then when the club decides it wants to go ahead, the process really begins. At first, we needed at least a month and a half, while now we can carry it out in a couple of weeks. Then in the executive stage, we get into the stage of counting the seats and the placards to divide them by color and by the area of the stands. And we order the placards. They have to go to the printers, obviously. We have to confirm the number of placards to check that the colors go together well. Then it all gets packaged so that it's an easier process to share them out.
Of all the mosaics he's organised in the stadium, the man behind the process recalls certain ones with special pride.
There are mosaics that I remember because of their complexity, or because the visual impact has been especially notable. The one we did for the Cup Winners' Cup tie against Fiorentina in 1996 was the profile of a map of Europe with the blue and red colours of Barca. And on a couple of occasions, we've done the Barca badge right in the middle of the stand. And that is just incredibly complex to organize. I also remember 8 years ago in the semi-finals against Inter, we had the profile of a Barca fan with his scarf and the word Barca in the middle. Those were the most emotional ones for me.
An idea, the Mosaics, that came about spontaneously in the early 90s and which has gone on to become part of the club's iconic image all around the world. The red and blue Mosaics now form part of the image of Football Club Barcelona and the Camp Nou.